You see, when I heard about the results of the recently held election commissions, to be very frank with you, there's only one aspect which surprised me. The margin of victory that the BJP got. Not the victory by the BJP, but the margin of victory. And I was also puzzled as to how the BSP came third, and that were poor third. So these were the two surprising things. Otherwise, Punjab was expected. I think as far as Manipur and Goa are concerned, I think Congress messed up both the states. Otherwise, we should have been in power, both in Manipur and Goa. But it's despite the incumbency factor in Manipur. Remember that this was the fourth time that we were seeking the mandate of the people. Despite that, we got a majority of the seats. And ironically, the Manipur chief minister today was a senior minister in our Congress cabinet. In Goa, NCP is a natural ally of us in Maharashtra.
Yeah.
There was one...
he won also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Alamo Churchill won.
Yeah.
He was my colleague in Lok Sabha also. And NCP is with us in Maharashtra. But I don't know why we couldn't get him onto our side. So in fact, BJP may have technically formed a government. But I think they have also... there are two sides of the coin to this story. One is whether Congress actually was laid back or maybe was not prompt to react to the situation which came before us.
Of any particular state you are saying, or all the states?
No, I'm talking of, Punjab we got a clear majority. I'm talking basically of the other two states, Manipur and Goa. You're not talking about UP? No, UP because we were
nowhere Uttarakhand?
No, because we were nowhere in the picture in these two states.
Okay.
So you see, what happened was...
In Uttarakhand also you were not in the picture, of course. Congress
no, but you see, I think the number of seats we won were much lesser than that of the BJP.
Okay, that way.
That way. You see, whereas here we were the single largest parties. So you see, in a situation like this, I don't know, all constitutional norms, Supreme Court guidelines, everything seems to have been forgotten or blown to the winds. You see, 9-judge bench of the constitutional bench of the Supreme Court had observed, even in the Bombay case later on, and then again a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court had said that after an assembly election, if a party does not get a majority on its own, then they should consider a pre-poll alliance which would have taken place. And if there was no pre-poll alliance among parties, or if they put together did not cobble up a majority of the seats, then it was incumbent upon the governor to invite the single largest party, which was actually not done in either in Manipur or in Goa.
Yeah.
And this is contrary to other Supreme Court observations which were made earlier, which said that the place for trying out the strength of a political party was certainly not the corridors of Raj Bhavan or its lawns, and it has to be done in the house.
Yeah.
So this was not done at all. So maybe we may not have managed even then, but then that process should have been gone through. Because once you take oath and come to power, it's not a question of horse trading with money. If you give ministerships, if you give plum posts to people who come and ally with you from the government, what trading is that? What do you call that? If it's not horse trading, you can call it elephant trading or what you like. But it's, I think, as bad or much worse. So this is how BJP managed to form the government in these two states. As far as Punjab is concerned...
But that is like, sorry interrupting,
yes,
that is like blaming the BJP how they manipulated. But what about Congress itself, sir? You said laid back attitude. So
no, but you see, where did, in fact, Congress is, in this particular case, you see, I am saying my party was laid back, I am blaming my party for it, but it was not as if Congress tried, see, Congress in fact did not manipulate. But is one required to manipulate to form a government? Normally everyone speaks against manipulation. What we should have done is we should have approached the other secular parties, other independent MLAs, tried to persuade them to form a government. But if there was any delay in doing that, this is, you see, it's not like whoever rushes and goes first and catches hold of the pole should be called by the governor. This is not the case at all. I mean, if you have a majority, let's say a complete majority, and you don't go to the governor for 2 days, does it mean that a party which is in a minority will be called to form a government? This is a simple logic. So Congress failed. It's an internal party matter which I'm talking about. But see, there are two different things. I would like to mix up both. So Congress failed to contact other allies, people who could have supported us.
Why this such a thing happen, sir? Why did Congress, after all, it's a national party, how could it fail like this?
Well, this is something which I think party has to ask itself. There has to be some introspection, but I would hasten to add that introspection cannot be a continuing process also. So this has to be done. I mean, how long will you go on introspecting and losing state after state?
Yeah.
So this was a failure on the part of the Congress High Command. When I say High Command, I mean those who were in charge.
Yeah, who do you mean by High Command? Because High Command is quite unwell now.
Yeah, but you see, when I say High Command, I don't mean only the President, the Vice President. In fact, they go by the advice of the General Secretaries or other members who are in charge. It's not always that General Secretaries are in charge of states. Sometimes the Working Committee member is put in charge. Or that's decided by the party organ. So those who are in charge are supposed to get into this kind of an exercise, present a proper picture to the central leadership. And the PCC and the AICC put together legislature party, they should try and bring out some kind of a solution to a problem which may have arisen like this. And I think that's why they miserably failed.
Now, since you raised the point of High Command,
Yes.
do you think this High Command culture in the Congress is a big factor, which is why perhaps your regional leaders are also not there anymore?
Well, you see, the High Command, you'll appreciate that the High Command has always been a factor, even in Pandit Ji's time. But along with that, we also had certain other constitutional, according to constitution, we had certain other organs within the party, which were functioning very, very. They were vibrant bodies. Like, for example, the Working Committee. Now, I don't think we've had elections for a very long time. Maybe the last time we had an election was in Calcutta. The AICC, which was held there, I think, quite a few years ago. Then you see, we had something called the Parliamentary Board. And we had the Central Election Committee, which was also elected by members of the AICC. But now you see, these things have become defunct. And these have been supplanted by what you call an extra constitutional kind of a body, a small body called, which is referred to as the Core Committee. But the word Core Committee doesn't exist in the Congress Constitution.
Core Committee?
The Core Committee. The Core Committee doesn't exist, term doesn't exist in the Congress Constitution. So it is just a, I mean, if you look at it constitutionally, it's just an internal or private arrangement by the party. High Command also includes your General Secretary, so those who are in charge of various states.
If that is so, sir, then forget about UP, because UP, you went into an alliance with the Samajwadi Party because Congress knew, otherwise it was nowhere. Uttarakhand, it was a direct fight between Congress and BJP. In Punjab, Congress won. Now left are two states, Goa and Manipur. So if what you said just now, in that case, those who were in charge of these two states should be held responsible for whatever has happened.
But why not those who were in charge of UP and Uttarakhand also?
Okay.
See, UP and Uttarakhand also, we didn't lose, we were thrashed. And so what about those who were in charge of these two states also?
How did this happen?
So
how will you explain that, sir?
See, as far as the Uttar Pradesh thing is concerned, I have my own analysis, my personal...
your personal analysis.
You see, I think that there was, as it is, an anti-incumbency factor against the Samajwadi Party. I think this has been appeared in also all the magazines, papers. We discussed it among friends from different political parties. There was a very strong anti-incumbency factor that was already there in Uttar Pradesh. But see, to add to that, the Samajwadi Party split. Once a party splits, and in fact that Samajwadi again is dependent basically on one clan and one family. So once they started washing their dirty linen in the public, just on the eve of the elections, a month earlier on. As it is, the credibility of the party, which had been eroding due to certain factors which are obvious, which I don't have to repeat and mention again. You see, this breakdown within the party, though it didn't break down technically, practically everything had broken down. There were open statements being issued by members of one family. So you see, that added to the anti-incumbency factor already, I think had dealt quite a heavy blow to the Samajwadi Party. And in fact, that's why I told you earlier on that why I was, and unfortunately we went to alliance with that party.
So the in charge of UP is to be held responsible. That
see, they have to be, see, not only forget about UP.
Is accountability
yes to the working committee, to the Congress leadership. They have to be accountable and take responsibility. You see, one of our general secretaries resigned recently. Why? Because the party failed the Panchayat elections in Odisha. You see, Panchayat are local bodies elections. In fact, the All India Congress Committee normally lets the PCCs deal with these situations. But even though it was the local body elections, I mean, why did he take this extreme step of resigning? Because he took upon himself that moral responsibility. And he said that since the party had lost, he would resign his post. But actually, what the AICC General Secretaries are expected to do, what they are responsible for, are for the Assembly and Parliament elections, for keeping the party intact in different states, to see that all, you see, Congress is a very old party, large party, so there are different groups within the Congress, not only in every state, in every district. So the General Secretary's job has always been to balance these different groups, to see that they are all taken along with the mainstream of the party, because you can't make all ministers, but then there are so many other responsibilities you can give within a party. So I think this is where the party has been failing.
So in other words, you are saying that general secretaries who were responsible for all these states should on their own resign.
See, if they should resign on their own. If they don't, then the party should take action. Or at least they should have a discussion among other members. Call an AICC, call a working committee meeting, call a parliamentary party meeting.
Going by Congress history and culture, do you think Congress leadership will take action and make these general secretaries resign from their posts?
I don't know what they'll do. But you see, these things have happened earlier on during crises. The Congress has met and they've taken decisions. And you see, because you have to react to a particular situation when it comes before you.
Like when did it happen last, when General Secretary was removed from his position?
I mean, even more serious things, more serious decisions have been taken, let alone General Secretaries. I would recall just one or two instances. After the Mumbai attack took place, when was that, 2019?
11.
I forget the exact year, but when that happened, if you recall, Shivraj Patil was the Home Minister at that time. Working committee met and working committee decided that the Home Minister should owe moral responsibility. Though law and order is a state subject. And I think it was on that decision taken by the working committee that Shivraj Patil resigned from Home Ministership. Likewise, later on, even the Chief Minister who's no more there, Vilaswara Deshmukh was also made to resign. So it's not a question of just general secretaries, even ministers have been asked to resign. Congress has taken, in fact, after the allegations against Pawan Bansal, we made him resign as railway minister. So general secretary is not a bigger post than these when it comes to practical terms. So the Congress has done it, it can do it if it wants to.
If it wants to, yes, that's a big thing.
That's right.
It wants to.
That's right. And if it doesn't do it, then we'll have to face those consequences. And the music which we've been doing so far. Like, for example, now you asked about UP, I'd like to mention one more thing. You see, the PCC president we have.
Yeah.
You see, PCC chief is a very coveted post in any state where you're not ruling, as far as the Congress is concerned. So in fact, the highest position you can give to any person in a state is the PCC chief's position. Like in Bengal, today whoever we make the PCC chief is a face of Bengal, would be a face of Bengal. Now we made PCC chief in UP, who the moment you gave the post to somebody else, resigns from the party and not joins BJP, and she's an MLA today. So what about assessing the commitment of a person before you give such posts?
Okay.
So if you can't even judge that or make an assessment, now we made a chief minister in Uttarakhand, who again left it the moment he was asked not to step down from chief ministership. So while you see these posts are important for the party, they're not for only for individuals. It's not just a question of being in power or being there. But you see, after all, people who stay in these posts, whom the party has put there, is also to ensure that the party gains in strength, the party's popularity spreads, the programs are taken to the people, implementation of party programs are done effectively. And here, if you have people who have no commitment towards the party or its ideology, then I think it's been very wrong judgment made by whoever's suggested these names or appointed them.
But in the case of Uttarakhand, there was a big issue about it. The government was removed, everything happened. And there also the PCC and the chief minister were not getting along. Why didn't the party take action?
This is exactly the point that I'm mentioning. So you see, first of all, let's go back a little bit on the Uttarakhand. You see, the Harish Rawat was the PCC president when the party was not in power. He is the person who worked hard, struggled, got the party in. And then you see, he was pushed aside and N.D. Tiwari was made the chief minister. After that, he was removed, and again it was Harish Rawat actually who struggled, who worked hard, who got the party. And then you got another stranger, a retired High Court judge. Not a retired High Court judge, I think, so, okay, whatever, you made him the chief minister. And the moment he was removed from there, he's left the party. So these struggles go on within the party. But you see, when you give such high positions, you also have to assess the integrity of the person and his commitment to your party, to its ideology. And if you fail in that, then you will have to face situations like this.
Who is to be blamed for this?
This is what I'm trying to say, is that this is what the party should find out. Because when you say introspection, what do you mean by introspection? These are the basic matters on which you have to you have to get at the bottom of the truth. There is no difference within the party, let me tell you that. Otherwise, in states where Congress has been out of power for 3 terms, 4 terms, or even longer, why will some few people remain there in the Congress? It's not that others don't want them. See, for example, in Bihar, it's maybe with the alliance last time with Nitish and Lalu, we won the seats. But those who contested from Congress tickets are there who've been there in the Congress for many, many years. So Congress has people, Congress has workers. And, you see, in Orissa, what happened was there's again a very strong anti-incumbency factor going against Naveen Patnaik at the moment, the BJP. And you ask anybody from Orissa, they'll say that BJP was never a factor. In fact, the BJP had a ride on the shoulders of BJD before they came, and once they split up, they got nothing. You saw that. In fact, the only single seat that they won was Joel Oram's last time, out of 21.
Yeah.
They won 1. I think people received them, they were they were happy about it. Now then, people say that we lost because of the bifurcation. Well, bifurcation is one issue, yes, I agree. But then what bifurcation was there in all other states? What bifurcation was there in Rajasthan? Or in Orissa, or in Haryana,
Absolutely.
or anywhere. So it's not bifurcation alone. It was that negative trend against the Congress which swept across the entire country, and Andhra Telangana also part of the country also. So we also faced the same kind of a problem there. But why we lost in Andhra and Telangana is because we deferred the decision of the division till the 11th hour. In the meantime, the chief minister then, the incumbent chief minister at that time, he was the one actually who instigated and started this agitation by the non-government officers. This is the allegation and people believe it. The PCC president left the party in the last moment just before the elections.
Okay.
Local body elections were not held and they were announced, they were held on the orders of the Supreme Court 1 month before Assembly and Parliament. So those who were left with the Congress party also changed sides because we had no organization, nobody to give a B form to the local body claimants, I mean those who wanted a ticket for either the blocks or for the Zilla Parishads. And 6 months before that we had won 70% of the panchayats. And now what has happened is all those who were in charge then are still continuing to be in charge. And the unfortunate part is they've surrendered the Congress party's franchise. I think they've surrendered it to YSR Congress. So how will the party grow if you do this?
No.
The Congress has credible leadership, but the crisis is there. You're right. Crisis is far. You think we are not forcing. I mean, we are not sort of projecting a credible leadership from within the party.
Why?
I can't answer that question.
You have been in Congress for so long.
Yeah.
I'm sure somewhere it hurts you. You know what is happening. You know what could be done.
Yes.
So, why is the Congress not projecting a credible leaders?
See, this is the big question that comes before me. To be very frank with you, now this is 40 years since I came into Parliament. I came in through the Congress party in '77.
Yeah.
I stayed in Congresses. You know, when Mrs. Gandhi split the party in '78, most of us stayed back with the parent party. When we lost assembly elections, most of our colleagues from Parliament also changed over. I stayed on. I won 2 elections from the Congress U and Congress S ticket. In '91, I lost because it was a post-assassination scenario after Rajiv's assassination. Then ultimately, the Congress S became sort of irrelevant and defunct. So, and BJP had started coming up, and then so we joined the only Congress I, which was left at that time. Today, what bothers me most is, so what I'm trying to say is, you see, that's why I personally am not looking for any post either in the party or in the centre Pradesh. In fact, I've never been active as a state congressman. I've always been here. So that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is the way the BJP is going today. The present Prime Minister and his trusted lieutenants. See, he's going like a bull in a china shop, with a total fascist mindset, destroying institutions one by one, raising this communal temperature throughout the country.
But it's easy to blame somebody. What about the Congress itself, sir, to counter it?
You see, Congress has not taken to these methods. So therefore, I'm saying.
So an alternative narrative can be.
No, therefore, you're absolutely correct. Therefore, today my worry is, you see, fortunately or unfortunately, Congress is the only party which has a national outreach. None of these regional parties. When you talk of Gathbandhan or Mahagathbandhan, you are referring only to the cow-belt parties, 2 or 3 or 4 states, maybe half a dozen states, which means there are in a country which has 30 states, including the small northeastern states and everywhere, there are 15-20 states which don't have strong regional parties like that.
Yeah.
So when you talk of an alliance, automatically that boils down to UP, Bihar, maybe extended to Bengal if the lady agrees from there. Otherwise, it's got a very, very limited scope. So you see, tomorrow, and the people of the country are not going to wait for an alternative. If they decide that they have to get somebody out of power, they will go ahead and do that. Whoever comes next is the second question. And the example for that is what happened in your Delhi Assembly elections.
Yeah.
That can happen in 15 other states, 20 other states, and that's not going to be good for the country.
Do you think Congress is failing the people of India?
Yes, of course, certainly. I think so. And because I think Congress owes the people of India. You see, we have a moral responsibility, a political responsibility to provide an alternative.
Yeah. Because it's the only national party.
Exactly, exactly. And this is the party which won the freedom, party which has stood by some basic norms and principles. Today you see your secular values are being thrown to the wind, your democratic values are being given the go by. You see the respect for the constitution is slowly eroding. So in this kind of a scenario, you rightly asked me, what is the Congress doing? You see, after all, the Congress has been in power till very recently. But now when a situation is like this is arisen, certainly
situation demands that.
Absolutely, absolutely, that the Congress should rise to this occasion. In fact, these have not even been communicated to the people through our party audits.
But obstructions in Parliament has become norm of the day, it seems.
Which is really unfortunate.
First BJP used to do, now Congress is also doing.
That's right. So what I'm trying to say is today, I'm not supporting what the Congress did. You see, as an MP for 5-6 terms in both houses, one thing I've never done is to enter the well of the house. And you see, sloganeering and slogan shouting is something which belongs to the trade unions at the gates of industries, not inside the house. These are new phenomena. And you see, you've rightly put it, whether it's the Congress or whether it's the BJP, these are certainly not the right kind of approach. This is not the right kind of approach to take.
Okay, so you said there is crisis of credible leadership. You said that Congress is not standing up to the occasion, rising up to the occasion, which is why there is no alternative vision or counter narrative to BJP. At the same time, there is lack of direction also.
Very true.
And it seems that the workers are now really very, very unhappy, demoralized, not only with the party, with the family also.
See, workers are definitely demoralized with the party as a whole. And if the family doesn't take a decision, naturally, see, the normal Congress worker who's been suffering, who's been slogging for years, certainly.
In UP, Congress has been out of power for 27 years. And we know at least in the past 10 years at least, there hasn't been any second round leadership hasn't been created. Why is it so? And secondly, what we saw in this time, that in Amethi also you lost so many seats. Congress has performed so poorly.
Right.
So doesn't it reflect on certain things which really hit you hard?
Of course it does. And you see, when you talk of second line of leadership, yes. But you see, as I would look at it this way, it's not your age alone which matters, whether it's a younger crop of leaders, older crop of leaders, or the middle level leaders, age-wise. It all depends on the quality of the leaders that you have. So if you have a group of youngsters hurling stones and shouting and can't provide, that's not going to help you in any way. Likewise, if you have leaders, older leaders, who by virtue of having been there, have gained a stranglehold over the party and don't let others go, and you think that just age has made them wise, that will also not benefit the party in any way. So then you have to take a holistic view of this entire situation.
There was a time when organization needed the family. Do you think now the family needs the organization more?
See, let me put it this way. I think the family always needed the organization. Organization was always there. The only person probably who did not need the organization to that extent was Indira Gandhi, because she somehow had developed a kind of a technique, or she had
connect with the people, which Modi is now doing,
which Vajpayee had done after her to some extent.
You don't think Narendra Modi has been able to connect with the people?
No, I cannot say he cannot. He has to some extent. But you see that there are differences in the way that they did it. Indira Gandhi did it at that time with her economic and political policies and programs. You see, 1971 was the election of Garibi Hatao. And it was not just the slogan of Garibi Hatao, that was accompanied with land reforms, with the abolition of Garibi purses, with nationalization of the banks, and various other factors. So you see, that is what actually got her support of those weaker sections and several other sections of society and people.
Right.
And she never went in for caste-based politics or religious kind of appeal. I don't think so. I mean, castes are there everywhere.
I think caste always worked in Congress political philosophy.
Well, if caste worked and if the majority castes had
Worked or not worked, but that has always been a factor, isn't
you see,
it?
I think with all parties,
Yeah.
all parties, because you see in India, I think classes manifest themselves with the caste system. So I think no political parties actually can ignore the caste factor, but you can't depend only on that. I'll tell you in 1977 when Congress lost. It was a political vote that the people gave north of the Vindhyas in North India. So what happened to all the castes which were supporting us in that time? Every caste voted for the Janata Party. And the same caste voted them out and voted Indira Gandhi back with a 2/3 majority within 2.5 years. So whether I think let's credit the people of this country who give a political vote. And I think out of my experience I can tell you that whether it is in a state or whether it's in the center, the people have always voted correctly. If the political parties have failed them, then you can't blame the people for it.
True.
So in the given circumstances, they've done their best. And if at all anybody has failed them, it's us and other political parties.
The question is in Manipur, which was you had a government, your own chief minister, 3 terms.
Yes.
But this time, the person who matters most now in the party went there only for half an hour and came back. Whereas the BJP had their entire strategists there who look after Northeast for months together. Then Prime Minister, Home Minister, as well as the party president, they held rallies. Now, how will you explain this?
This is exactly what I meant when I said that. Where is the accountability of those who, I don't know who was in charge, but whoever went there for half an hour and came back? He should be answerable to the party. Nothing has happened.
It was Rahul Gandhi who went there.
No, you see, Rahul Gandhi is not in charge of Manipur. Rahul Gandhi could have got him in. See, ours is not.
So is it the PCC president you blame, or is it the general secretary?
This is general secretary. We have general secretary. We have secretaries. What were they doing? You see, before that, in the same Northeast, you saw Assam. Hemant Sharma was one of the ministers in our Congress cabinet. He came here several times, and apparently the feedback was also not given properly over here. And today he is, I think, the main organizer for the BJP in the entire northeastern states.
Yeah.
He's not an RSS man or a Vishwa Hindu Parishad man. So this is something which the Congress has failed to see.
And now also they are not willing to take corrective measures.
See, not so far. I have not seen any kind of a measure like that.
And in Goa also you think party could have done something, should have done something.
Of course, why not?
And the explanations that are being given now that we spoke to the person, but the person after midnight somebody else from the BJP came and met him and he changed his stand. Do you think these are genuine?
You see, then in that case, your management was much worse than theirs. How could they manage the same people?
Yeah.
So that's no excuse. And in fact, there's one group over there, the Forward Party, who wanted to have an alliance with the Congress. I think the Congress did not feel it necessary at that particular moment of time. But they could have easily approached them now.
Right, okay. Now I'll go back to your regional leaders.
Yes.
There was a time when Congress had, in UP, Congress had N.D. Tiwari, Congress had G.B. Pant in UP. You had V. Nayak and you had Sharad Pawar in Maharashtra. You have Jagannath Mishra in Bihar. Everybody really holds it very high. You had YSR Rajashekar Reddy in Andhra. You had Digvijay in Madhya Pradesh. Ashok Gehlot in Rajasthan. But now we really can't see any regional party leader.
You see, in fact, in Maharashtra, if you go still further back, we had Y.B. Chauhan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have Vasantdada Patil, V.P. Nayak, Sharad Pawar.
And
in
why
Bengal,
has it been crushed?
See, in Bengal, we have Bidhan Babu, P.C. Roy.
Yeah.
Manuda was there for a long time until the CPM came in. Then, of course, for a long time, Prio was taking the lead. Unfortunately, he's not really there with us. But like this, in every state, we had leaders who could have actually provide strength to the center.
Yeah.
Now I'll give you two examples. When Mrs. Gandhi was in power, there was a crisis in Karnataka.
Which Mrs. Gandhi?
Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi. And Devaraj was picked up from nowhere and made chief minister. So if a national party can always build up a leader or a leadership. So she got Devaraj, and Devaraj after that became the messiah of the backward classes of many other forward classes also. And he still has a good, I mean his name is still remembered.
Yes, of course.
Likewise in Andhra, it was not Rajshekar Reddy was a different kind of a leader, he came latest. But before that you had Vengal Rao, you had Brahmananda Reddy, you had Sanjeev Reddy. To begin with, we had Dr. Prakasam Pantulu. So I mean, there was no dearth of any leadership in Andhra Pradesh. So the High Command culture is to be totally and only definitely blamed for this. I didn't disagree with you on that point.
Much I thought you did agree with.
No, I fully agree with you. But High Command includes not only those two people.
Yeah, others also.
Others also. Those two people also, if they've not reacted to the situation and feel cozy and comfortable with those few people who are surrounding them, then that's, I mean, I said it earlier, I think, then it's a kind of a oligarchy that you have developed, and they've not been able to deliver the goods in a democratic setup.
Yeah, because I remember when the Arunachal crisis was happening, after 2 months, these people, they said, we are still with the Congress, why? But we are not being given time. For 2 months, they were sitting here. Why this kind of
these are things
culture?
Which, this has to be immediately corrected. This has to be immediately corrected.
Okay, now a lot of blame is being put on two people in this just ended elections. One is Digvijay Singh, the other is Ghulam Nabi Azad. Now, if one goes back to Digvijay's performance, Goa he could have done. He claims he tried his best. But if we go back to Andhra Pradesh bifurcation, it was too late by the time they bifurcated. In fact, in Madhya Pradesh thing also, people say that that is also one state where, as Chief Minister, he should have and could have stopped. But he allowed Chhattisgarh to be formed. But for other states, they say, how can you blame him? He was responsible for Assam.
No, you see, he was in charge of Assam.
But then Gogoi, Tarun Gogoi came back to power.
It was before that he was in charge. I don't know, I'm not sure of my dates, you can verify that.
The previous,
I think, I'm not sure of that, but he was in charge of Bihar. In fact, he was in charge of Bihar.
During the 2016 election?
No, before that, before I took over Bihar, he was in charge.
Okay. This was which year, sir?
2007 to 8 I was in charge, 2007, 2008. He was in charge of Orissa. He was in charge of Andhra. It was not too late, even before that he was in charge of Andhra. And in fact, it is Ghulam Nabi Azad who laid the foundation for this mess up. And
of which one? Of Andhra?
Yes. He was General Secretary. He is the fellow who started this process of separation. And you see, today, unfortunately, including him and the present...
including Ghulam Nabi Azad or
including both of them, though he's not in charge of Andhra, both of them, and present PCC president. You see, they are all totally, they've surrendered the party or its interest to Rajshekar Reddy's son's party. So how will a Congress grow in a party, in a state like that?